You know that feeling when you're, like, working on your laptop and for some reason everything is just painfully lagging?
Oh, yeah. The worst.
Right. Like, the fan starts spinning up like a jet engine preparing for takeoff. Your battery is draining at something like, I don't know, 1% every minute.
And the cursor is just totally frozen.
Yes, exactly. You are literally just trying to type a simple one-line email, but the machine is acting like it's rendering a massive 3D movie or something.
It's incredibly frustrating. And usually when you finally manage to, force open your activity monitor, you see the culprit.
Always.
You realize you have 47 different background applications silently running. I mean, they're completely invisible to you on your desktop, but they are absolutely devouring all of your processing power.
And you didn't even authorize half of them to be running. They're just sitting there completely tanking your whole system.
Right.
Well, for you listening right now, we are going to explore how your brain does the exact same thing when it comes to love, unresolved crushes, and secret relationships. Welcome to the deep dive.
It's a fascinating topic.
It really is. Our mission today is to open up the hood and look at the actual wiring of your brain. We are getting into the hidden psychology and the literal neuroscience behind obsessive attraction. We're going to figure out why we can't let go of past loves and why the thrilling allure of a secret relationship is, honestly, a lot like downloading a massive virus disguised as a fun game.
Yeah, that's a really great way to put it. Because to really understand what happens when our systems crash, we first have to understand the baseline operating system.
Right, the default mode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you experience early attraction, your brain doesn't just experience some vague emotion. It actively brews a very specific, highly potent chemical cocktail.
Cocktail. Okay, what's in it?
So deep inside your brain, there's a region called the ventral tegmental area, or the VTA. When you meet someone you're intensely attracted to, that VTA basically kicks into high gear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it acts as your brain's primary reward factory, and it begins to flood your entire system with dopamine.
Dopamine is the famous one, right? Like, that's the feel-good neurotransmitter that makes things highly addictive, whether it's a slot machine or getting a new text message.
Precisely. It creates a profound sense of euphoria and this intense, laser-like focus on the other person. But it's the ripple effect dopamine has on the rest of the brain that's truly wild.
It's like a domino effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As that dopamine surges, your prefrontal cortex, which is the area of your brain situated right behind your forehead, responsible for rational thought, logic, critical decision-making, it actually dials down its activity.
Wait, it turns off.
It dials way down. Your critical judgment essentially takes a vacation, and simultaneously, your amygdala, which is the tiny almond-shaped structure that processes fear and anxiety.
Right, the fight or flight center.
Yeah, that completely calms down.
So mechanically speaking, you are becoming literally less rational and less fearful. You're basically losing your brakes.
You're losing your brakes while slamming on the accelerator. But here's the most crucial and honestly often overlooked neurochemical change. Your serotonin levels plummet.
Okay, wait, I need to stop you there because that feels totally counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, I always thought serotonin was the happy chemical. If you're falling in love and feeling great, why would serotonin drop?
A really great question. Serotonin is less about jumping for joy happiness and more about stabilization.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's your brain's stabilizing anchor. It keeps you feeling steady, satisfied, and it regulates your mood so your thoughts don't just spiral out of control. So when that anchor gets hoisted up and serotonin levels drop, your thoughts start drifting wildly.
That makes so much sense.
In fact, clinical data from the Cleveland Clinic highlights something astonishing. The neurochemical profile of someone newly in love bears a striking, almost identical resemblance to someone suffering from obsessive-compulsive disorder.
Wait, seriously, are you saying that infatuation is chemically just a temporary state of OCD?
Neurologically speaking, yes.
That is insane.
Right. The drop in serotonin removes the barrier that usually stops intrusive thoughts. And this brings us to a specific clinical concept called limerence.
Limerence. I've heard that term thrown around online recently.
Yeah, it's gaining traction. But limerence goes far beyond a simple crush or, standard early-stage dating.
Mm-hmm.
It is an involuntary, intense state of cognitive obsession and psychological attachment to another person.
Okay.
And in clinical terms, that person is actually referred to as the limerent object, or the LO.
The word involuntary is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I mean, it implies that you don't actually have a choice in the matter.
That's the scariest part for a lot of people who experience it. You don't choose to enter a state of limerence. You might not even rationally want to be with this person.
Right, like they could be terrible for you.
They might be entirely wrong for you. But because of that serotonin drop and the dopamine hijacking, you were just consumed by intrusive looping thoughts about them. Your mood becomes entirely tethered to their actions.
Like riding a roller coaster you can't get off.
Exactly. You feel absolute euphoria when they text you back, and then this crushing, disproportionate despair when they, leave you on read.
Yeah, we've all been there, or at least seen a friend go through it.
Right. And you might start exhibiting obsessive-compulsive behaviors, like constantly checking their social media or orchestrating these accidental run-ins. It shares profound biological parallels with chemical addiction.
So is this just a universal human experience, or are certain people's brains more susceptible to getting hijacked like this?
While anyone can fall into it, the data shows there are distinct vulnerable groups. People with a history of trauma or insecure attachment styles are highly prone to limerence,
Because they're looking for stability.
mostly because their brains are subconsciously seeking an external source of validation to regulate their own nervous systems. But interestingly, individuals with ADHD are also incredibly susceptible to limerence.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm trying to connect the dots there. Is that because of the hyperfocus associated with ADHD?
that's exactly the mechanism. The ADHD brain naturally struggles with a baseline deficit of dopamine.
Right, it's understimulated.
Yeah, it is constantly starved for stimulation.
Mm.
So when a new romantic interest comes along and provides a massive, reliable, concentrated hit of dopamine, the ADHD brain latches on for dear life.
Wow. It just locks in.
It hyperfocuses on the limerent object as a biological survival mechanism, just to keep that dopamine reward flowing. Your brain essentially says, finally the fuel I need, do whatever it takes to keep this person around.
Okay, so if the brain is already chemically primed to obsess over a new romantic interest, like if it's literally addicted to the chemical hit they provide, what happens when that supply is suddenly cut off?
Like a breakup.
Yeah, but specifically, say the relationship just ends without a real ending. I'm talking about ghosting or an ambiguous breakup where no one actually explains what went wrong.
When that happens, your brain's background apps essentially freeze and crash.
The spinning wheel of death.
Exactly. And to understand why, we have to look at a really interesting quirk of human cognition called the Zeigarnik effect.
Zeigarnik effect. Okay, lay it on me.
So, back in the 1920s, a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik was sitting in a bustling cafe in Vienna, and she noticed something peculiar about the waiters.
Years in Vienna. Okay.
They could remember incredibly complex, multifaceted orders for large tables perfectly without writing anything down.
That's impressive. I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Right. But here's the catch. The absolute second the food was delivered and the bill was paid, they forgot the order entirely.
Really?
Yeah. If she asked them what a table ordered just 5 minutes after they finished, the waiters had no clue.
Oh, wow. So the completion of the task basically wiped the hard drive.
Yes, exactly. Subsequent laboratory experiments prove that human beings are fundamentally hardwired to remember unfinished tasks far better and with much more detail than completed ones.
Oh, okay, I see.
The human brain inherently hates ambiguity. It hates open loops.
Okay, I can totally see where this is going.
Yeah.
But how does a waiter forgetting an order of schnitzel apply to someone like staring at their ceiling at 2 a.m., agonizing over an ex from 3 years ago?
Because your brain perceives an unresolved relationship as an unfinished task.
Oh, man.
Yeah. When you get ghosted, or when a relationship slowly fizzles out without a definitive conversation, there is no closure. Because the loop remains open, your brain refuses to file the experience away in the completed folder.
It just keeps it running in the background.
Right. It loops endlessly, trying to solve a puzzle that is missing several crucial pieces.
You know what it's like? It's like walking out of a really intense mystery movie 10 minutes before the ending.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Your brain is going to be incredibly frustrated, and you'll be forced to spend the whole drive home writing alternate endings in your head because you absolutely need to close the loop.
That's a brilliant way to picture it.
Mhm.
And the loop gets even stickier when we factor in something psychologists call emotional capital.
Emotional capital, what's that?
A fascinating 2020 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships highlighted that we don't just view relationships as single events. They are massive portfolios built on thousands of micro-investments.
Oh, I like that phrasing. Micro investments.
Yeah. Every small positive interaction, every shared inside joke, every moment of late-night vulnerability, Those are deposits of emotional capital.
Right, so you aren't just losing a person, you're losing the time, the trust, and the energy you heavily invested into them.
And the brain is highly averse to losing its investments. When a bond ends ambiguously, your brain doesn't just want answers. It goes into a frantic overdrive trying to salvage the emotional capital.
It's trying to get a return on investment.
Exactly. The subconscious logic is, I put a year of my life and all this vulnerability into this bond. I can't just let it go bankrupt. I have to figure out how to fix it.
So you ruminate.
You ruminate. You replay conversations from 6 months ago, analyzing microexpressions, trying to find the exact moment it went wrong. This mental loop is incredibly draining, and it halts your personal growth because all your processing power is tied up trying to refresh a web page that no longer exists.
Wow, okay, so an ambiguous ending traps our brains in this exhaustive, obsessive loop because we basically crave completion. But what if the ambiguity isn't a breakup?
What do you mean?
What if the lack of clarity is totally intentional? I'm thinking about secret relationships. Hiding a romance from the world is a massive cultural trope. It's supposed to be thrilling and passionate. Does the brain process intentional secrecy the same way it processes a ghosting?
That is a great pivot. Intentional secrecy introduces a whole new, incredibly potent psychological mechanism.
I can't wait for this.
To understand why secret relationships feel so overwhelmingly intense, we have to look at a classic 1987 study by the psychologist Daniel Wegner. It's famously known as the white bear experiment.
The white bear.
Yes, Wegner brought subjects into a laboratory setting and gave them one seemingly simple instruction. He said, "Do not think of a white bear. If you do happen to think of a white bear, ring this bell on the desk."
Oh no, I can only imagine. It probably sounded like a bell choir in there.
It was constant ringing. The subject simply could not stop thinking about the white bear.
Because he told them not to.
Exactly. Through this, Wegner discovered what he termed the paradoxical effect of thought suppression.
Paradoxical meaning the harder you try to stop, the worse it gets. Why does our brain do that? Is it just being rebellious?
It's actually a mechanical flaw in how the brain monitors itself.
A glitch.
A literal glitch. When you actively try not to think about something, your brain sets up a background monitoring process. It constantly checks in with itself asking, am I thinking about the white bear right now?
Oh, I see. But in order to ask that question,
It has to bring the concept of the white bear into your working memory.
that is so counterproductive.
It is. The very act of monitoring the suppression guarantees that you are, in fact, obsessing over the exact thing you were trying to ignore.
Okay, let's pull this out of the lab. How does the white bear apply to, say, two coworkers having a secret romance?
Wegner actually tested this very application in a 1994 study with his colleagues, known as the footsie experiment.
The footsie experiment. Science is the best.
Right. They brought unacquainted men and women into a lab and had them sit at a table to play a card game in groups of 4.
Okay.
They were divided into 2 pairs sitting across from each other. In some of the groups, the partners were instructed to play footsie under the table, but to do it openly, making sure the other couple saw what they were doing.
A little awkward, but fine.
In the other groups, they were instructed to play footsie secretly, deliberately hiding it so the other couple wouldn't catch on.
Imagine the cognitive load of trying to play a card game, keep a perfectly straight face, and secretly play footsie with a stranger.
It requires immense mental effort. And after the game was over, the researchers separated everyone and tested their level of attraction to their card partners.
And let me guess.
The couples who played footsie openly reported feeling normal baseline levels of attraction. But the couples who played footsie secretly reported significantly higher, intensely elevated attraction to each other.
Just because I had to hide it.
Yes. The mere act of suppressing the behavior in front of others caused an obsessive preoccupation in their minds.
Like the white bear.
Exactly like the white bear. Their brains were constantly monitoring the secret. Are they looking? Am I giving it away? And the brain misinterpreted that constant obsessive mental preoccupation as intense romantic passion.
That is genuinely mind-blowing. So the intense, fiery attraction you feel in a forbidden romance isn't necessarily because that person is your ultimate soulmate.
No, not at all.
It's a cognitive glitch. We are literally tricking ourselves into falling harder just by trying to hide it. You're accidentally forcing your brain to obsess over them and then mislabeling that obsession as true love.
It completely reframes the narrative, doesn't
It
it?
really does.
And this maps perfectly onto real-world survey data about past relationships. Researchers asked people to categorize their past loves. Hot flames, were the ones people still constantly ruminate over, while cold flames were the past relationships they rarely think about.
Okay, and I'm guessing there's a correlation.
A huge one. The data showed a distinct pattern. The relationships categorized as hot flames were consistently reported as having been kept much more secret than the cold flames. The suppression bred a long-lasting obsession.
Okay, so secrecy acts like a massive amplifier for attraction. I mean, it sounds like the perfect setup for a romance novel. Secrecy fuels intense passion.
It does.
But if that's true, if the act of hiding creates this massive surge in passion, you'd think these couples would be the happiest people on Earth. But looking at the modern research, the data paints a much darker, almost contradictory picture of what happens behind closed doors once the initial thrill wears off.
Yeah, this is where the narrative takes a sharp turn from thrilling to deeply toxic.
The hangover phase.
Right. While secrecy creates an artificial spike in early attraction, research from Colorado State University and Columbia Business School shows that the biological reality of maintaining that secret slowly destroys both the relationship itself and the physical health of the individuals involved.
I was looking at the Colorado State study led by Justin Lehmiller. I was actually shocked by the physical symptoms people reported. It's not just emotional stress.
No, the physical toll is profound. Lehmiller surveyed hundreds of people actively involved in various secret relationships, unapproved pairings, hidden workplace romances, affairs.
Right.
He found that keeping the relationship secret directly caused plummeting self-esteem and drastically lower relational commitment. But the physical burden was staggering.
What kind of symptoms?
Participants reported chronic headaches, deeply depleted energy levels, poor appetite, and ironically, a complete loss of sexual interest in their partner.
Okay, wait. How does hiding a relationship translate into a literal headache and a loss of sexual interest? If the footsie experiment says secrecy makes you more attracted, why are these people losing their sex drive?
It comes down to a psychological concept Lehmiller calls cognitive constraints. Think about how your brain maps out a normal, healthy relationship. Over time, your partner becomes integrated into the wider web of your life.
You merge lives, right.
Exactly. You associate them with memories of your favorite coffee shop. You introduce them to your best friends. They come to family Thanksgivings. Your brain creates a massive interconnected neural map of shared experiences. Psychologists call this cognitive interdependence.
Right. Your lives merge together. Your brain sees them as part of your whole world.
But in a secret relationship, those cognitive constraints completely prevent that integration. You can't take them to the coffee shop. You can't merge your friend groups.
You have to keep them isolated.
Yes. Your brain is forced to keep this person in a sterile, isolated box, entirely separated from the rest of your identity. Because you can never build that web of cognitive interdependence, true, deep intimacy fails to form.
Oh, that sounds incredibly lonely.
It is. You start feeling incredibly isolated and insecure about the future of the relationship, which triggers chronic stress. That stress spikes your cortisol levels, which leads to the headaches, the exhaustion, and the crashed libido.
And Michael Slepian's research at Columbia Business School takes that feeling of isolation even further, right? He ties it to a much bigger societal issue.
He does. Slepian looked at the broader psychology of secrecy in general. And he links the burden of secret-keeping directly to the modern loneliness epidemic.
Wow.
What Slepian discovered is that the real damage of a secret isn't the active stress of hiding it during a social situation. The real damage happens when you are completely alone.
The rumination, just sitting with your thoughts.
Exactly. A secret fundamentally creates a barrier between you and the rest of the world. It is an active withholding of your true self. Slepian argues that keeping a secret sends a subconscious lingering message to your own brain that this part of your life is unacceptable or shameful.
Man, that's heavy.
Over time, that internalized shame breeds profound, persistent feelings of isolation, even when you are surrounded by people.
So, synthesizing all of this, if the footsie experiment shows secrecy boosts attraction, but the Lehmiller study shows it destroys health and commitment, then secrecy is basically a drug.
That's a great way to look at it.
It gives you this massive, immediate dopamine high, but leaves you with a terrible long-term hangover. You are...
Basically, you have to set rigid boundaries to cut off the dopamine supply. But more importantly, you have to practice radical self-care to rebuild your own self-esteem so your nervous system learns to regulate itself instead of desperately seeking regulation from the limerent object.
And I imagine that means severing the digital ties, too. Social media seems like the worst possible thing for limerence.
It is gasoline on the fire. Social media acts as a literal dopamine slot machine. Every time you check their profile to see if they viewed your story or posted a picture, you are reinforcing the chemical addiction. You have to block the profiles.
No more creeping. Got it.
Yeah.
What about the Zygarnik effect? How do you close the loop on a ghosting situation when the other person refuses to give you the answers you need?
You have to artificially create the closure your brain is demanding.
Yeah, you do that.
Don't let the thoughts swirl vaguely in your head. Write down every single haunting question you have about the breakup on a piece of paper. Externalize it.
Get it out of the RAM.
Exactly. And then you have to actively practice radical acceptance. Acknowledge that you will never, ever get those answers from the other person. You have to grant yourself the permission to close the loop without their participation. The act of writing it down signals to your brain that the task has been addressed, even if it wasn't solved by the other party.
Okay, that makes sense. And what if the background app draining your battery is a massive secret? How do you relieve the burden of that silent strain Sleepian was talking about without blowing up your entire life?
Sleepian's research at Columbia offers a surprisingly elegant cure. You do not have to announce your secret to the world to feel better.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. The data shows that simply confiding in one trusted neutral friend brings massive emotional relief.
Just one person.
Just one. Speaking the secret aloud to a supportive third party punctures the bubble of shame. It removes the cognitive burden of isolation and stops the endless, lonely rumination.
But what about the physical toll? I mean, all that stress, the headaches, the lost energy. How do we repair the actual hardware of the brain after it's been put through the ringer?
The Pacific Neuroscience Institute makes a crucial point here. Emotional pain isn't just a poetic metaphor.
It's physical.
It is. Neuroimaging scans show that social rejection, heartbreak, and the isolation of secrecy register as actual physical pain in a brain region called the anterior cingulate cortex.
Your brain is literally wounded.
Exactly. To feel it, you must support your physical hardware. That means rebuilding your depleted neurotransmitter pathways with omega-3 fatty acids. It means committing to consistent physical exercise, which naturally boosts both dopamine and that crucial stabilizing serotonin.
The stabilizing anchor.
Right. And above all, it means prioritizing deep quality sleep. Sleep is when the brain physically processes trauma and prunes away obsessive neural connections.
So it really is like doing a manual reboot on your brain.
Pretty much.
You have to actively force quit the background apps by blocking the social media. You have to write down the system errors so the computer acknowledges them. And you talk to a friend to clear the cache. You have to plug the machine back into a power source with sleep and exercise. You can't just passively wait for the lagging to stop.
No, you can't.
You have to take control of the keyboard.
That is the ultimate takeaway here. Love, obsession, and the intense thrill of secrets are not magic. When you are in the thick of it, it absolutely feels like destiny or fate.
It totally does.
But they are really just incredibly powerful blends of biology, chemistry, and cognition. Once you understand the why, the dopamine surges, the dropping serotonin, the Zygarnik loops, and the paradoxical effect of trying to suppress a thought, you regain your agency.
You realize your brain is just doing its job.
Yes, trying to process stimuli. And sometimes it just gets stuck in a glitch.
And understanding your own wiring gives you the power to debug the system. You are not at the mercy of an unresolved ending or a hidden romance.
Absolutely. And, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a rather provocative thought, building on the glitches we've uncovered today.
Ooh, okay.
Lay it on us.
If trying not to think about something forces our brains to obsess over it, like we saw with the white bear experiment, and if unfinished business keeps us hooked, like the waiters in the Zygarnik study, could we reverse engineer these glitches?
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Could we deliberately leave healthy tasks unfinished at the end of the day so our brain is eager to jump back into it tomorrow? Or could we playfully hide a positive new habit, keeping it a total secret from our friends, to make our brains obsess over our own personal growth instead of fixating on an unavailable person?
Wow. Hacking your own brain's glitches for self-improvement, turning the virus into an upgrade. I absolutely love that.
It's a fun experiment to try. So, to you listening out there, the next time you feel your mental battery draining and the fan is spinning out of control over someone from your past or a secret you're holding on to, remember to open up that activity monitor. See what's silently running in the background, force quit the applications that are no longer serving you, and plug yourself back in. Thanks for diving deep with us.